Hello and welcome to another episode of How Do You Manage by Not the Top 20. This week I'm delighted to be joined by Stevenage manager Alex Revell as we look back at what's been a pretty incredible run at the moment for a team going well in League One. Alex, delighted to have you with us. How are you doing?
Afternoon. Yeah, delighted to be here. Thanks for the invite. All good. I think that waking up after last night's performance is, you always look back on games and on a day off, it takes time to kind of, to register. But there we go again, and we're looking forward to now a big challenge on Saturday.
Yeah, last night was an EFL Trophy game against Birmingham, going down late to a Jay Stansfield goal. I mean, as you mentioned it, I'll ask you now, that's your first experience managing against Birmingham this season, the runaway leaders at the top of League One. You got them twice to play in March. Good side?
Yeah, they're full of quality. They're full of players that obviously are above the level. But, you have to just play against the team that's put in front of you. I think that for all their play that they had in the game, I think that it came down to two big moments. And unfortunately, they make a mistake, and we don't capitalise on that opportunity. And at the other end, we do similar, and it falls to a player that they've spent an incredible amount of money on to finish those chances. So they've got quality all over the pitch, but listen, we've still got them to play in the league, and last night was a good learning for us to make sure that when we play them in the league that we're better and ready to hopefully put in a top performance again.
Now, at the top of this conversation, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, because I mentioned this on Monday as well. At the beginning of every season, Ali and I do our 1-24 predictions where we say where we think each team is going to come in the league. And, it's on the record, it's out there. And we had Stevenage in the relegation zone. And I was part of that. And the reason I said as much was because, in my mind, Steve Evans had done obviously an incredible job at Stevenage, and it's incredibly hard. You look at, for example, Cheltenham and Mike Duff, where he came into the club in League Two and took them up into mid-table in League One, and then him leaving, triggered a drop in terms of their fortunes, and that was what I was concerned about. But it's fair to say that hasn't happened at all. I mean, how obviously it's your second spell in charge of the club. How difficult or easy has it been to take over in the wake of such a big character, but B, someone who did such an incredible job over a short period of time?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think in the summer, I think the big thing was in terms of when I spoke to the football club, I think we wanted continuity. I think that we wanted to get, the players were used to the staff. We're a small staff here under Steve, and he's taught me an incredible amount in terms of being a manager and aspects within that. But the big thing for the summer was definitely continuity, making sure that we kept our identity as a football club. And listen, I've been a long time now, and it's a club obviously that my children support now, and I understand the club and understand the community. So in terms of that, I think it was a lot easier for the club for me to step in because of the continuity, but also, under Steve, I really enjoyed my time there, but also he allowed me to be able to learn, be able to really try and put forward what I would have wanted and what I wanted under him as manager, which was a real pleasure for me. So, and I think the people behind the scenes obviously saw that and entrusted me to take it forward. And, you wouldn't be the only one that had Stevenage down to be in that bottom, that you wouldn't have been. We know it's an extremely tough league. There's many clubs in this league that are way above us in financially, in terms of stature. We absolutely understand that. But, we aren't little Stevenage. We had a fantastic season last year. I think that we were disappointed not to make the playoffs. I think that we fell away slightly, maybe for different factors in terms of first time playing in the league for some, the amount of energy that we put into the beginning of the season and through that season. I think it just took its toll on the team. And I think we ended up the season looking and going, I think if there was ever a season to get out of this league, last year was a lot easier than what it would have been this year because of the teams coming up and the teams that are getting relegated. And I think it was just a matter of building back from where we started at the start of last season. Because the momentum we had from League Two, absolutely helped us in terms of the start in League One, similar to what we see from Mansfield and Stockport and Wrexham. All of the teams that got promoted had a fantastic start. So we just needed to go back and just look at how we achieved that. And I think we did that. And, this year is definitely different. It's a lot harder, but the players, have been used to winning games for the last 2.5 years under Steve. Absolutely. And that doesn't leave you. And we've got a fantastic group that all want to win. And over the summer, that was the real big push for us, making sure that we kept our identity. That's not shape. That's not, personnel. That's just making sure that we play to what Stevenage stands for. And I think that was a big thing throughout the summer.
It's interesting that you mentioned learning a lot under Steve Evans, because it's something I'm kind of obsessed with is the way that football fans in general talk about and think about managers. And it's always so binary, and it's always he's rubbish or he's great, and it's so unforgiving. And it's interesting because you're quite a different case, where it's not often you see a rookie manager come into a club, have a period of time in charge, some good times and some bad times in League Two, then step away and then go back in at the same club having never really been elsewhere. And I think it's very obvious, you're now managing at a higher level, but the results are better, the performances are better, and it's pretty clear to see there's been a learning. Do you think that's the case? Do you think that, you've lived it over the last, 5 or 6 years? How much of a learning curve is management, and how much do the experiences, say, for example, tough times in your first spell, but also working under other managers, how much does that change you as a boss?
Well, I could definitely say I think that when I first got the job, I wasn't ready. Absolutely. I don't blame anyone else at all apart from, and there's no blame. It's about learning. It's about the challenges you face while you're managing. Also, when you leave, I think it's what you do in those moments. I think that the first time I didn't have enough confidence, probably a real belief in what I wanted. So I relied too much on other people to kind of push me in certain ways and shape me. Whereas actually, I think if I had the confidence what I had now, it would have been very different. Circumstances were absolutely completely different. COVID, the trials and tribulations of that year was we didn't know where we were going to be. Many, many factors were in that. But again, huge learning in terms of what makes a team, what's important, the staff around you, everything about that was massive for me. But when Steve brought me back in, I spent many hours with him in mornings at 6 o'clock in the morning, just discussing football, just not even what the team is, just football in general. And he's a fantastic person, fantastic person that absolutely, when he wants to win, he's a winner. And on the sidelines, that's all he wants to do. He wants to win. And whether people like him or don't, his teams and his record absolutely suggest that he's a winner. And I think when you get him away from that, he's a different person. And I've got huge respect for him because, when he left, he said to me, now you're ready. Now you're ready to take over and do what you feel is right. Because many of the things that he believes in, I wanted to do, but I probably didn't have the confidence to do that. So now I've got that. Now I absolutely manage how I want to manage. Now I absolutely see a team that I want to see. And we're always learning, we're always building, we're always taking things as coaches from other people. But I think if you get put in these situations and you don't learn, I think then, that's not right. You have to learn from everything that you do. And he gave me the opportunity and the platform to rebuild absolutely and have full belief in what I do. And, he's been a huge part of why I am now where I am.
We speak after, in the middle of a very good run of league form. You've won your last 3 league games, beating 3 unbelievable results as well, going to Barnsley, beating them. Not many people do that. Going to Wrexham and beating them, no one does that. And then a 4-1 home win over X, having gone behind to a penalty after 2 minutes. Do you feel, feels to me like the kind of run of results that has catapulted Stevenage from being a side in mid-table to a side that are now looking upwards and just 4 points off the playoffs. Is there discussion internally about how close you are to the playoffs? Is that a target, or is it something where you just maintain focus on the next game and see where that takes you?
Well, Absolutely, we have to have aspirations to get there. Otherwise, why turn up every day? I think that's the big thing. You want to have success, but all season we haven't scored enough goals previously. I think at the start of the season, but when you look at factors in terms of that we were a new team in terms of what we were trying to bring to it. So we have changed the way that we play for sure. A new way of playing, a new shape of playing. So that does take time. I think that we focused a lot on out of possession, a lot of how to keep clean sheets, and we've done that brilliantly well. I think we're joint top with clean sheets in the league. So in terms of that aspect, absolutely, we've really been producing performances, but it was just that final part, the creating and goals and taking opportunities that we had. And I just think that we're very open and honest as staff. It's not Alex Revell's way all the time. It's what's right for the players that we have, and adapting to different situations. And I think that we had a meeting amongst a few of the players, and a lot of honesty was spoken. And since then, we looked at how we slightly, changed things in terms of how we play. And since that meeting, we've obviously had an upturn in goals and results. So be it just letting players probably go and show their strengths. I think that I spoke about it a lot in terms of, we have to make sure as a club that we get the best out of each individual. And I think we're doing that at the moment, and they are absolutely pushing as hard as they can push. They are an extremely hard-working group. And we have no divine right to turn up to anyone to beat in this league. We have to be at our best every week. And for the last few weeks, we've absolutely been at that. I thought first half away at Wrexham was one of the best football I've seen us play in a very, very, very long time. And now our level now is set, and we have to stay to that. We've signed players in January, 2 players to make sure that they come in and make us stronger in our forward areas, and we just have to keep pushing now with our training with the guys that we have, because it's a special group that I get to work with every day in terms of their personality and character. And they all want success, and I think that absolutely we want to look up. We've got a huge game Saturday that again people will look at and potentially not back us to go to Charlton away and win, but with what we've got behind us, we have to absolutely back ourselves to go there and win and really start letting people talk about us.
I think off the back of those away results against Barnsley and Wrexham, it'd be a fool to write you guys off again, surely. But from the outside looking in, we cover all these games every week, and every so often there feels like a bit of a moment which feels fairly pivotal in a team season. And that Wrexham result and the manner of it, where you go 2-0 up, you peg back to 2-1, you go 3-1 up, you peg back to 3-2, and you get over the line. And great scenes after the final whistle with you in front of the away fans, and it really felt like a bit of a galvanising moment between everyone. I mean, that relationship between you and the fan base seems to be incredibly strong right now.
Yeah, it always has been. I think that in the summer, I know that there is obviously people there that might have wanted change, and I had a lot to prove because I'd been there before. I had a lot to prove, but I like being in those situations. I enjoy that situation. I like players that always have something to prove. I actually think the biggest kind of light switch moment for us was probably Barnsley away second half. I thought that Barnsley away second half, we really started to believe in what we're doing, created a lot of chances. Should have been essentially 3 or 4 in terms of how we played that day. We limited them to 4 shots in the whole game. And I just thought that was a moment where there was real belief in what we can do. And we actually went to Wrexham, and I didn't fear at all. I didn't fear what we were put in front of us. And again, they just produced another level. Confidence does that, wins do that, scoring goals do that, creating chances does that, because we know that behind our strikers, and we've got a really solid line of men and of players that keep clean sheets. So I think we've allowed ourselves to be a bit braver, believe more, and ultimately results back that up. But we have to make sure that we keep delivering that. We have to keep delivering those performances, because I think Exeter after Wrexham was a big test for us. Earlier in the season, we went to Mansfield and won 1-0, which is a fantastic result. I think they're on the back of 8 consecutive wins. And then we lost to Cambridge at home, which was a really disappointing game. And then we went on a run of losses. But I think that the Exeter game was really, really, really pivotal for us in terms of how we're going to react after Wrexham. And we did that brilliantly. So now we have to keep going. We have to keep pushing because, like I say, we are now looking up for sure. And we want to push as hard as we can.
You mentioned the solid defensive unit and also the clean sheets record. And, for those of us who look at the XG side of things as well, you've got the third lowest XG per 90 in the whole division, just Birmingham and Stockport. I mean, how data driven are you? Like, do you buy into the data side of things, whether that's in recruitment analysis or in performance analysis? And also, given that the missing piece, I guess, of the jigsaw this season up until the last couple of weeks has been the goal scoring, where you've been defensively very solid. It's just making sure you get the goals to win games. Is there a risk now with the attacking side of things clicking, where you've got to ensure that you maintain that strong defensive unit rather than throwing caution to wind up front, but then suddenly conceding loads of goals?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the challenge, right? I think that we absolutely use data. I think that I think you can use data when you want to as well. I think, when you're defensively solid, you start using all the defensive data and it looks fantastic. When we're not scoring, you don't look at it. But I think with XG, obviously the more chances and shots you have, the greater chance you have of scoring more goals. But, I go back to Huddersfield, Wycombe this season. I think Wycombe had something like 19 shots at home and Huddersfield had 5. Huddersfield won 1-0 because they took the opportunity they had. It's the hardest part is scoring goals and creating good opportunities. But there are games where we've missed big chances. We've missed big chances. And in those moments, that then drives maybe more XG because you take that chance, it creates more confidence. You become, more belief in a game. And I think when you miss chances, it does have the opposite effect sometimes, that you concentrate on just keeping a clean sheet and not losing. So it is a balance for sure, but in terms of recruitment, we are using statistics, but again, you have to go with your eyes as well in terms of for us, because it's more than that. It's more than that for us. It's character. It's the athleticism. It's everything to do with work rate with us, because that is what's expected from a Stevenage player. I think what also helps is when you play a consistent shape. I think statistically can really use that to look at who's performing in certain areas. I think when you change shapes, it's a bit more difficult. So now we've been quite solid in our shape. Obviously, we tweak it within game to game, but I think it's a lot easier to use statistics when you are, you know exactly what you're looking for in players, and as a club that you're really together. And I feel that when under Steve, a lot of the time we played 2 up front. A lot of the time Steve would always play 2. I think that for me this year we've played 3 up top. That helps us in terms of our press. That helps us having more numbers up the pitch, more numbers in the box for crosses. So we look at statistics in terms of that as well, in terms of playing forward. We want to be a team that plays with a real purpose forward. So when we play the ball backwards too much, absolutely statistically, we'll look at that and it's clear for everyone to see it's fact that you can see that we're playing backwards too much. So you have to be careful with it, but absolutely, if you can use it to your advantage, we absolutely do, yeah.
Let's touch on a couple of key players who've been performing particularly well recently. I mean, Dan Kemp's a player who has these incredible runs of scoring form and has done over the last couple of seasons for various clubs in League Two. But he looks, to me, in the last couple of games, especially in the Exeter game, where it was his ball carrying ability that created the first 2 goals. He even looked a bit annoyed with the first goal. I think that he didn't end up getting a goal or assist from it. And he's got 4 goals this calendar year already, and looks a player who is bang at it right now.
Yeah, I think you said he wouldn't perform as well, didn't you?
Did I? Oh no! So you did listen.
No, listen, with Kempy, he's obviously we had him as a youngster. We had him here in terms of when he came on loan first, and I think that the big thing in the summer for us was that he was a lot more durable. He'd obviously learned more now in the leagues, and that we signed him with a real purpose in order for us to play a certain way. And what he's done is he's just produced really outstanding numbers from that position. We have to play a shape that absolutely fits him and suits him. It's about getting the ball to him and allowing him to go and show his talents. I think that's what we all want to do with every individual here. Go and show how good you are. And absolutely, he's in a fantastic vein of form and full of confidence. So long may that continue. But that takes everything. That takes Cole Piagiani stepping out now and being able to play. That takes midfielders certain attributes and certain skill sets in games to be able to move and manipulate the ball to find him. So that takes everyone. Everyone takes absolute credit for that to be able for him to produce those numbers. But he won't tell anyone that. But I'll big up the team rather than company.
But I was going to mention Piagiani because there are kind of interesting parallels, I guess, maybe in both of your careers, where both of you played non-league football in your early 20s and then came up into League Two. And then, Alex, you established yourself as a championship player later on in your career. And right now, I would say Piagiani has to be seen as one of the best centre-backs in League One. And, he made headlines early in his Stevenage career for scoring a lot of goals. But this season, he's not as much of a threat in the opposition box, but certainly from a defensive standpoint, he's dominant.
Yeah, I don't want to go too over the top with Pidge because he's a lot of people listen, but he's the heartbeat of this team. He's a fantastic captain. He's a dream as a manager to have as a captain. But what he is, he's someone that just wants to keep getting better. He devotes his life to football and to being as professional as you can. And for any one of our youngsters or any of our pros, they look to him because of what he does. He just keeps getting better and better. We asked him this year to be a little bit more calmer on the ball, a bit more control, to be able to be, stepping in as a centre-back and playing and delivering diagonals and playing through to the 10s and to strikers. And he's really delivering some top-class performances. But not only that, I think that people look at him and say, in terms of pace and in terms of we can get at him, but his knowledge and his brain, there's certain people that understand what they're good at. And he's certainly one of those. And, he's been an incredible signing for this football club, not only in his leadership, but how he just keeps going from strength to strength in terms of his technical and tactical ability. He's a pleasure to work with every day.
Now, whether it's this season or I'm sure in a season relatively soon, when you do end up managing a team at Wembley in a playoff final, it's going to be fairly significant, and we'll all get to watch what has to be one of the greatest ever playoff goals of all time. And I can't have you on the show without mentioning that incredible playoff final against Leyton Orient. I mean, I don't even know what year it was, a long, long time ago now, 2014. So, 11 years ago. For those who can't remember or weren't watching at the time for whatever reason, Orient were 2-0 up. And then you scored a brace early in the second half, one of which was just an incredible strike. Do you think because of that day, I mean, first I'd love to hear your memories of the day, but also do you think because of that iconic goal and that incredible game, what would it mean to you to lead a team back out at Wembley in a playoff final?
It was the most special day you could ever have. I think that to have your family and people that have worked so hard for you to have that reward, I think, of being at Wembley and seeing it. Listen, we were down and out, and again, it kind of, that goal kind of looked, in terms of my career, is kind of obviously absolutely at the top, but it really summed up kind of my career really in terms of 2-0 down, having to prove people wrong that one, we did that all year in that team. We did it all year. But for me personally, that I've seen that goal many, many times in the garden when as a kid growing up playing with my brother. But it was an incredible day, and to have everybody there. My son, our first son, was there at the game that day, and he still remembers it, even though he's young. He still remembers it. So incredible day, and to be able to go to Wembley. Obviously, we're disappointed that, I said last night, obviously after Birmingham, that they're incredible days, and we would have loved to have got there, and we don't get the opportunity with the Virtue Cup now, but it's a big push. And I don't think that, at this stage of the season, you have to keep telling people and reminding people that is the ultimate goal when you get there, because it is the best way to go up in terms of, as a professional, to be able to get to Wembley and win. Obviously it would be a dream to get there, especially with this club, because it means a lot to me. But, I think that at any time as a manager, to be able to play there and take a team there and obviously win would be an absolute dream, because I've experienced as a player, and I'd love the opportunity for my players that I work so closely with to go and experience that as well.
And just finally, Stevenage fans won't want me to ask this too much, but your loyalty to them is very, very clear. But you're a young manager who's learning his trade, doing very, very well. How ambitious are you in terms of where you want to go as a first team manager?
Yeah, well, absolutely. You want to get as high as you can. I think that, but for me, we've had this fantastic run of games recently, but we just want to play a style that is exciting to watch. And I think the big thing for me is you want to make people have the career that they can go and achieve. I think, that's the big thing for me. When we see players now doing things that, they can fulfill their potential, that they can go out on the pitch and deliver performances and go on to bigger and better things. That's absolutely our game, our way. Absolutely. But we also know that we've got to win, and winning games gets you, the last week, the amount of text, the amount of everybody's talking about us because of the Wrexham game, and obviously Barnsley. So we just want to win games. My aim is to have success here now, and that whatever comes after that is fantastic. But I only get that if we have success now. Like that's and what success looks like to different people is, maybe a style, maybe where we finish in the league, whether we can get into that top six. I think there's many different factors in terms of why managers leave clubs, but for me, it's all about putting an imprint into this football club, making players better, but ultimately taking this club as far as I can, and then hopefully the rewards will come from that.
Brilliant. Well, wishing you all the best of luck for the rest of the season, Alex. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and I promise I won't underestimate you again in next year's 124th.